My greatest challenge has been getting diagnosed with this heart disease, ARVC, in 2021. Same week, I had melanoma in my neck taken out. And it was
Seriously?
like tough week, right? It was like, hey, you got this heart condition, no more exercise. You might need to get a defibrillator put in. 2 days later, they're like, yeah, you got skin cancer. We got to take it out, right? The people that do you wrong, the situations that are the most difficult should be held as if they are a rare gem because they have the most to teach you. Everything and everyone is your teacher if you believe so.
We love feeling bliss. We love feeling good stuff. But how do we feel sadness? How do we feel anger? How do we feel grief? What I've learned is those feelings just want to be felt. And when we feel them, then they release. Just like everything.
A good friend of mine's dad just passed away, and I was watching the memorial service, and he was an absolute legend of a human being, impacted so many lives. And to hear people speak about him, it moves you. And you're like, this is what matters most. Often when I talk to parents, pretty frequently I get a phone call, hey, we want you to work with our son. We think he can go to an Ivy League school. We want him to be the best player in the country. And I listen, and then I'll just say, okay, what matters most to you? And they often go back to that he's happy, that he's confident in himself, that he can handle hard times. And I go, perfect, that's what we're going to focus on.
This is The Way You Lead, a show for the new era of leaders who are ready to rise. I'm Joshua Church, and every week we explore how to lead from the inside out with strength, heart, and authenticity. Through stories, strategies, and conversations with embodied leaders, you'll gain what you need to lead yourself and others in today's changing world. The way you lead matters, and now is the time to step up.
My brother.
My man.
Dude, we're doing it.
I know. I'm
Here
pumped.
we go.
So happy.
Oh, this is so fun. This is one of the longer podcasts in the making, I feel like. For me, like wanting to have you on, it's been years.
Yeah.
I mean, we connected back, I don't know how many years ago that was now.
It's probably three.
Probably three.
Jules,
Jules
yeah,
3 years. It's definitely
3
3 years ago because we were just launching Edge at the time. So Jules, shout out to Jules, man.
So good, man. What an incredible guy.
Seriously, yeah. At his camp out in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And we just vibed right away.
For
and
sure.
we were just like speaking the same language. I was like, this is my guy.
No doubt.
And even since then, 3 years ago, I'm like, I got to get you on the podcast. But we got to do it in person.
Sure.
Especially now I've moved away from doing any virtual. I'm doing only in-person
Very
podcasts
cool.
because it's just that much better. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you so much, buddy. What a beautiful space. And
Thank you.
Always good to be in your energy. And the prayer that we just did was wonderful. That got me dialed in.
I love it. Always. Do you pray?
Yeah, I most consistently, I would say I do an exercise called a 5x5.
Oh, what's that?
So 5 deep breaths. Usually I do that double inhale. 5 things that I can hear, 5 things that I physically can feel, 5 affirmations, and then open my eyes and I orient, 5 things that I can see. And for me, that's just connecting to the energy that is, and getting really grounded in the moment. And sometimes it's a stress reliever. Sometimes it's a performance enhancer. And sometimes it tunes me into that spiritual sense, more, just being in touch with energy.
Right. Very cool. I love that. What a simple practice. 5x5. It's just, that's what a great, just presence, awareness, check-in moment. You do that in the mornings typically?
Yeah, I did one today, this morning. It was interesting. So excited to get here with you.
Yeah.
And I had this little bit of an expectation unconsciously that I was like, I'm going to zen out in the morning. I'm going to be in my mindset bag. I'm going to feel so good.
Right.
And just a lot of work things popped up, a little bit of stress, a little bit of rush to get here.
Yep.
And, it was good. Thankfully, awareness to be like, well, I can feel some tension because it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But that practice definitely helps, no
Amazing.
doubt. And it's quick. You can knock it out whenever.
Yeah, well, you're building that muscle of self-awareness,
Yes.
which is huge. I mean, just for any human being,
Yeah.
but specifically in a lot of the work that you're doing with athletes or with high performers to be able to have that, okay, I'm aware that I had an expectation that I was going to have a nice chill morning, come into this podcast, and reality's not meeting that. And
Yes.
so I have 2 choices. I can either get really frustrated and flustered with that, or I can acknowledge and accept that and move through it as best as I can.
Yeah. And the other one that's similar to prayer is the practice of Yoga Nidra, which I picked up last year when I was here at Soul of Yoga and Encinitas, and then also at Trilogy. And I was doing it 3 or 4 times a week. And it's basically Shavasana for an hour, right? It's yogic sleep, and it's incredible. And then I picked it up, and now I just do it off of YouTube.
Cool.
But that one really helped me just develop a heightened sense of awareness. And one of the teachers, she said, accept everything. right? So we were in a studio and the cars were driving by, there's construction. And she goes, hey, my teacher said, like, just accept it all. It's exactly the way it's meant to be. And I believe that's a great belief to consistently go back to. So as I was driving here, I was like, no, this is exactly how it's meant to be.
Fantastic.
Like beautiful, you know?
Well, here we go. Cause we've got a beautiful thing to talk about right first thing on the
No
podcast
doubt.
and
Yeah,
break
dude.
down. And who knows, so that's helping right now listening.
Yeah.
Did we talk about Michael Singer? I feel like we must have talked about Michael
Yes,
Singer.
Untethered
Podcast,
Soul.
Untethered
Yeah.
Soul. Yeah. That's so common on thread with accepting and just like letting it pass through. And it's like, it's the things, everything's perfect as it is. It just hits the stuff that we have within us or stored within us.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. It's you know, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. The degree in which we suffer is directly related to how much we resist what is happening, you know, and going back to that often is definitely needed at times. And gosh, these just beliefs that you just pick up over time. A lot of them for you, I'm sure, are intentional, you know, really solidifying them. And I look now at the quality of my life, and so much of it is because of simple beliefs like that, great small books that have really changed my perspective and put me in a better place of peace, performance as well. Peace number one for me.
Peace. Yeah, I like that. So okay, maybe let's start with what are you working on currently? Like, what are things that you're working on currently that you're excited about? Like, for people that don't know you, like, what is it that you enjoy doing?
Yeah, so in 2021, we launched Mabry Academy, myself and a business partner mentor, with the goal of becoming the national model for player and personal development, mostly in the sport of lacrosse and eventually branching out. And since then, we've built our team. We've served over 4,000 student athletes and teams. It's been awesome. And in less than a week from now, we are hitting a new point, and we're evolving into a new organization called One Play Development.
Fantastic.
And, you know, the idea behind One Play is, you know, present moment. And that's what all high performers do. They have an ability to focus and get present and compartmentalize or shorten up their horizon and just focus on what's right in front of them.
Right.
So we'll be launching into that. I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but
After
probably,
this,
So super excited for that.
Fantastic.
To serve more students. You know, those are mostly teenagers and college athletes, teams and families, and really help them get the most out of their sport experience. And for us, you know, the personal development aspect is the priority. And we found that when young people get that in alignment, performance on the field tends to also click as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So what was your, I want to unpack a little bit about your origin story getting to this point of the man who's sitting across from me right now, who's leading this organization. Love the name, by the way. That's really dope. Cool. Where, like, I presume you were not always this way.
No, you know, I think we all have some inherent gifts and talents and things. But I look back to childhood. I grew up in a household. My older brother had some challenges, and it was a little bit of a chaotic environment.
What kind of challenges?
Behavioral, mental, maybe on a spiritual plane, you know, but just was never at ease with himself, and it caused a lot of conflict in the house, and it was very chaotic. So I think from that standpoint, I learned early on how to read signals, and, you know, you tiptoe around and know whether it's appropriate to speak or try to make somebody laugh and those type of things. And that was paired up with a deep intention to be kind to others. I remember, you know, I really go back to this when people ask me about, like, how'd you get into coaching? Like, where did it start? I remember my mom picked me up from school, elementary school. I was in 3rd grade. And she said, we have to go pick up your brother again. He's getting kicked out of school. And it was like the 8th day in a row of him getting in trouble at school. And I said, like, what's going on with Will? Why is this happening? And she said, you never know what people are going through. Be kind to everybody. And it was just one of those core memories that stuck with me. And really from that day going forward, my perception changed. I would go into school and I would look around and be like, like, nobody knows what I'm dealing with at home or what my brother's dealing with.
Right.
I bet everyone else is having that experience. Okay, let me practice kindness. And when I did that, I got affirmation for being kind to others. So then it builds into a little bit of the identity piece, and you get good at it because it feels good.
Right.
So, you know, I think it started there. And then I remember freshman year, Coach John Costello, who passed away a few years ago, unexpectedly in a car accident, who was an absolute legend in Northern Virginia. I mean, just absolutely revered and deeply respected. He was a health ed PE teacher. And he said in the first day of class, he said, you know, kindness is the highest form of intelligence. And, like, this is what matters most, your character. And it was what was always fascinating to me, kind of the inner game and how people organize themselves. And he was so respected as a coach and as a teacher and as a human that I really believed it and just kept leaning into it.
Kindness is the highest form of intelligence.
Yeah. It's a great one, right? Because then you have that awareness that we're all connected, right? And that's a pretty high level of insight.
It is. It's funny. I was just reflecting on, I had a moment similar where that connected to me. I have sisters, I have a family that I love and I'm very close with. And I was on a flight to Iceland. This is a couple of years ago. And I didn't get on it quick enough to like assign my seat to get like an aisle or window. So I ended up in the middle seat, which for me is like one of the worst things. I've got long legs. I hydrate a lot. So like being in the middle seat, it's a growth opportunity for me.
Great point.
And so I'm in the back and it's a long red eye flight, right? And I'm in the back of the plane in the middle seat. And, I'm watching people walk by and I'm just like praying. I'm like, please, like make sure it's someone like really tiny or like, a small girl comes sits who doesn't take up much space so I can like be able to use the armrest, right? And then all of a sudden this like group of like probably late middle school or early high school students is coming on the plane. They're going on a trip to Iceland and they're from Europe. And so there's this big group of kids and like now I'm in the kids spot. So it's super noisy and I'm still waiting for my seatmate. And then down the aisle, I see someone who's walking and he's so overweight. He's a young kid, but he's so overweight. He's having to like side shuffle down the aisle. And I'm just like, the first thing I think is like, please God, no. Like, please, keep walking. He keeps walking. He walks a little bit past. I'm like, oh, thank God. And then he like backs up a second, looks down at his boarding pass, looks back up and he like points to the seat next to me. And I'm like, oh shit. And he sits down, he's sweating, he's out of breath and he sits down and I can't even, he's overcome the armrest. And so I'm like, and in my mind, I'm spiraling now, right?
Totally.
And like, I can't help but be touching him because there's no other way.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm just like, oh my God, like this is the worst. I'm trying to look around. Is there other seats available? And then it hit me for a second. I'm like, this is someone's brother. And I thought about my brother and I thought about like, what if this was my brother? Yeah. And I even get just a little emotional thinking about that. It's like, what if that was my brother? Like, how would I want other people to treat him? Yeah. Or like, I don't know what this kid's going through. Yeah. And like, he's probably to be that overweight at that age, like he's probably fighting some demons. Yeah. And I'll never forget, but like in that moment, as I came to that, as I shifted to that compassion and kindness, it was like, oh, it just dissipated. I wasn't annoyed that he was touching me. I wasn't annoyed that I had the thing. And it's a moment that I'm still grateful for to this day. So from that point, I started thinking about that. It's another way of what you were saying, which is kindness is the highest form of intelligence. And is that like, we're all brothers and sisters. Like everybody is someone's brother or sister. And we are literally brothers and sisters of the human race. And what a shift in compassion that we can look for and to look for and to think about what is this person going through. So I share that story because I had a similar experience to that stuck with me. So, and what a different world we could live in if everybody sought out compassion and kindness first.
Yeah. For me, it goes back to the concept of oneness. And when I do find myself in a state of prayer, it is on that concept. And I just meditate on it and recognize how interconnected everything is. And my heart rate goes down, my body relaxes, like physiologically, I have a response in a positive direction. And then perspective is just expanded dramatically. And I find I make much better decisions from there. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And kind of ties back to when I learned that from Buddhism. And when I was in high school, the other moment when I look back kind of on like my coaching trajectory and serving others, I was a sophomore in high school, got my heart broken for the first time. I was in just a total funk and I just couldn't sleep. And it was like 2 weeks of me just not being myself. Wow. And so one night I Googled, it was like midnight, and I Googled Buddhism, how to train the mind, which is such a Google search.
Right. But just out of nowhere, like just
out of nowhere. Wow. Right. And I found DalaiLama.org and the 8 verses on how to train the mind. It's bulky. I mean, there's a lot there, right? Not an easy read. And I stayed up for the next few hours and read it. And one of the verses that stood out to me was, the people that do you wrong, the situations that are the most difficult should be held as if they are a rare gem because they have the most to teach you. Everything and everyone is your teacher if you believe so. And so I started thinking, okay, what if this is a teacher? What if this is my teacher? What can I learn? What if my experience with my brother is a teacher? If he's this great sage, right? And that was another just heightened perspective shift. And it put me in a position to help others just because you ask the right questions. Like a great coach really just pokes around it and finds the right things. So the more I practiced that for myself, I was in a better situation to do that for others. It feels good to help others. You get better at it, you know, and then that just led into a passion for helping other people. And I remember in college sitting under a tree meditating sophomore year, and I was like, I can handle pain. This is what came to me. I can handle pain. Go help others deal with theirs. And it was like loud as could be, this voice. And so I just knew what I was going to do was going to help others. Wow. That was it. And then it took me into coaching and strength coaching, mental performance, teams, clubs, all these different aspects.
Right.
But at the core of it is oneness and helping as many people as I can.
So good.
I love it.
It's
I absolutely love
pure.
it.
It's so pure. And I think that's one of the things that I think attracted me towards you initially and like built a friendship was like, it's truly authentic. It's from the inside out, you know? And so that's one of the things I love being around you is because it's like, it's very lived.
Yeah.
And so that perspective of what is this teaching me? I mean, it's the same, it's another way of saying the same thing of things don't happen to me, they happen for me. Yes. Right. And that perspective shift, you choose to believe that, to practice that belief, because it's not, it's not perfect. You can't just decide, okay, this is it, everything's great. But it's a practice.
Yes, practice.
So that was, you were how old when you really started practicing that belief?
That was sophomore year high school. So
Sophomore high school,
14, 15 years old.
That's amazing.
And I just remember that was a pivotal, another one of those core memories that really shaped me. And I practice it to this day. You know, and one of the things, your acknowledgement of just how we kind of, found the others, recognized each other when we met. One of the things that I was reflecting on was last summer, 2 summers ago at Mission Primed, 2023. And I was dealing with a lot of these like panic attacks with my heart. Right. And so I have a heart condition, and there's, more palpitations than normal. And I became hyper fixated on them and felt like I couldn't breathe. And I thought it was the end. And I just gave my presentation on how to cultivate inner peace through sports. And it was awesome. Like flow state is so enjoyable. And then I was in the hallway and I thought I was dying. Like I thought I was going to die in that high school hallway by myself. And then you walked over and you're like, you good? And I was like, dude, I need a ride back to the hotel. Like I forgot to take my medication. And that was more of a placebo than anything. It wasn't, I didn't need the medication to survive another day. But you were kind, compassionate, present for that. And, just spoke to who you are as a person. And I felt so much safer in that moment. So I don't know if I ever got to thank you for that. So I really appreciate that. Man.
I remember that. I was like, Joel, let's get in the car and get back to the hotel, man. Let's go get you your meds.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what role, I'm curious, because practicing these beliefs, like a lot of these concepts we're talking about, these are perspective shifts. These are paradigm shifts that, we've devoted years of our life and our life towards practicing and forming these beliefs. Like what role does the people you surround yourself with play into adopting and embodying these beliefs for you?
That's a great one. One of the things I'll share with students is there's really 3 ways or 3 reasons why people change, right? So one is pain. You experience something so difficult you never want to experience again. It shocks your system and then you move out of it. The other is pleasure. You achieve something. You're like, wow, this is cool. I want more of this. I'm willing to change my lifestyle to get that. Or the idea of it is so good, winning the trophy, the job, whatever, you move towards it. And the other one's environment. And it's like the silent change, just being around people. And I see it with the teams that we work with, how, for some of these freshmen that are on this varsity team, the way they think about themselves and their performance now is drastically different than if they were at a culture and a part of a program that wasn't so detailed and disciplined. So the environment piece is huge.
True. The sports, you really see it in the sports teams is like a microscope to be able to see it.
Totally. I think I could do better with cultivating more time with great people outside of work. Thankfully, my wife is absolutely incredible and pushes me forward in these, sound beliefs. But I'm very fortunate to be coaching every day, whether it's virtual with my students or I go in person to work with teams. And they say you retain 90% of what you teach. So I find that these conversations with young people are some of my greatest anchors. And teaching it, and then also hearing them teach it back to me and how they're experiencing it. So thankfully I spend my time around a lot of people that are focused on the right things. But I'm sure, in the last few weeks we have in San Diego, when spending some time with you would help, generate more of these beliefs.
Yeah, that's great. But the concept too of teaching in whatever way it is, even if it's like just bringing it up more in conversation, or if it's writing in your journal and reflecting it, that it's like, because when we teach it, we really learn it.
Yes.
So that's a great point, is being in that role of constantly teaching it. You're constantly reminding yourself of it.
Yes, it's so good. And so I tell that to my students, and I'm like, hey, like, I want you to teach it to me.
Yeah,
like, go in depth. Like, talk to me about what's happening. And we talked about it before. My background's in lacrosse. I have a love and appreciation for the game, but it's the vehicle to get me to these conversations. Right. This is what fires me up.
Yeah.
And this is what I know is going to help somebody on their life journey. There's a thought that I was going to add, but it'll come back to me.
I'm so curious you're working with high school students mostly, right?
Yes.
What's the reception? Because like, thinking about myself back in high school, it feels like it's hard to relate to like what's in the mind of a high school student, especially today with social media, with just the culture being very different and just evolving as it always does. But like, what's the reception to students wanting to like hear these types of concepts or things? Do they grasp it? Do they get it? Do they want to understand it? Are they turned off by it? Like, what's the landscape? And I'm sure you've got a bit of everything.
Yeah, great point. There's definitely a bit of everything. I often get a question from coaches when we talk about supporting their team, and some of the coaches maybe in an old school way of thinking, or they're like, yeah, but are they going to be into it? Are they going to like it? Or like, are they going to get it? And I'm like, yes, they get it probably more than you do. And I think they're, for this generation, they've had a lot more conversations about the mind. Now, I think a lot of them have been delivered through the lens of mental health,
right?
Which is great, but also has some limitations. But I see a great sense of curiosity. A lot of it goes back to what program and school they're in.
Yeah.
So if you have a coach who's living it and preaching it and teaching it, they're much more quicker to receive and excited. And I've worked with some programs that are first year programs. None of these kids have ever been around a high performing team. So there has to be a little bit more excitement and engagement on my part. But I always thought with high school kids, like, you just got to make it cool. I worked with a team years ago back in Virginia, and we really needed to get physically more fit. And the strength program was great. The nutrition was down. So we made some simple rules about having a pre-workout, post-workout snack. If you didn't bring it, you couldn't lift that day. But the whole idea, I went with the seniors, like, we got to make it cool to eat healthy and eat big.
Right.
So when you're in the cafeteria, I need you to talk about your meal prep and show them what you're eating.
Right.
So you got to make it cool. And I think that's one of the strengths that I have, is my ability to read the room and consider ways to kind of pierce, and get people excited about learning these things. But I think there's a great curiosity from the students that I work with and high school kids these days. I think they've been dealt some difficult hands in their young lives, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and they're very primed to, they need these things, but I feel like they're ready to really take big steps forward.
That's great to hear. I also like the idea of, I'm sure you see this effect a lot, but seniors and the upperclassmen and the leaders have a trickle effect down to the rest of the culture and the environment
on the subconscious level, right? Like, the subconscious is always taking in information,
right?
So even like the facial expressions, the timing of things, watching how other people engage, like it's settling into their perception of life and themselves all the time. It's always on. So I see it all. I see it constantly. It's really cool to observe things through that lens. I think a lot of times, I work with the kids that I work with, like, detaching from the outcome, right? And not getting so focused on the wins and losses. And so for me, I've done a good job of that over a lot of years. So it doesn't take up a lot of my mental space. Yeah. These observations is what I enjoy, watching how people interact, watching how they apply techniques from a mental standpoint, from a relational standpoint. And it's really, really enjoyable. And when they start playing that game, that's an infinite game. Yeah. And it's really fun to watch.
Yeah. Okay. I want to get into this conversation because I'm always constantly curious exploring this. Yeah. And I explore it with, there's a few people I can explore this with that get it from both sides. So like, it feels like we have two sides of a coin. On one side, on one hand, we have cultivating compassion and peace and oneness and detaching from the outcome and presence. And on the other hand, we have competition and we have goals and we have winning and we have I'm going to kick your ass, right?
Totally.
So how do you hold both of those? How do you reconcile both of those? How are those intertwined? Because you have both. Like you got that like I'm gonna kick your ass mentality, which you need to have to compete and be a high performer, and also this other side. So let's explore this conversation.
That's great. I would say the first things that you discussed, the detachment, the presence, the peace of mind is the first principles that we want to operate from. And then, you don't want to take anyone's desire away to achieve great things. But if you have the time to ask why they want to achieve those things and get a layer deeper, it can strengthen their conviction towards that goal. And, I think about that concept, how often in this space of athletics, people don't talk about peace of mind. And almost every single player says if they were a little bit more at peace with themselves, they would perform better.
Right.
So I think it's about reconstructing what getting to optimal performance looks like more often and being at peace with yourself. What's it worth if you win the game and you struggle to be alone with yourself? So there takes a little bit of conversations there. But a lot of those things go hand in hand. If you're truly focused on the present, your competitive drive, which defining competitive is important. So we define that as striving to do your best. Most of the time when I ask a young person, what does it mean to be competitive? They say to beat somebody else. All right. Well, if you're really striving to do your best, whether you play an opponent that you know is inferior or you play someone better, you're setting yourself up for success.
Right.
And so you need to define some of these key words, like what does success mean to you? What does it mean to be competitive? And when you define those, you make them tangible and you can fall back on those first principles, those values, those standards, and just consistently referring to like, okay, and how's your peace of mind during all of this? How well are you managing your inner world? So I think they really blend together so much. At the end of the day, high performers are able to be fully present more often than not. And for me, I never identified as an overly competitive person because I thought competitive was trying to beat somebody else. I saw myself as a very curious person, but there was that desire to also win. So it's duality, right? It's the human existence. You can be really sad about something in your life and still express gratitude at the same time. You can have a extrinsic motivator of like, no, I don't like these guys. They're at my rival school. Like I want to win and have bragging rights for the next year. Okay, cool. If that fires you up a little bit, but you also need to be mindful if it's going to distract you from doing your job in that moment, present, one play at a time. So it's very, it requires consistent observation and conversation. And that's why I think the team that I work with here, we're in such a great place because, I lead 2 sessions a week. And by me leading, I give them the floor a lot. Cool. It's a lot of conversation. And it's not as black and white, it's and it shifts for each person. So when you first asked that question, I did think about the difference in the students that I work with. And how some of them are so driven, almost to a fault. The perfectionist tendencies come out. And then others who are just kind of like, it's all good. And it's fascinating to see.
It's so interesting. I like that reframe too of it's you versus yourself. It's like it's me versus myself. Like, I play basketball once, maybe twice a week. And I'm a very competitive person. I do not like to lose.
Sure.
And more importantly, I don't like when I don't play my best, especially when I make mistakes or errors, stuff like that. Right.
Yes.
So I'm a very competitive person, and I like winning.
Yeah.
And I do feel that when I am more focused on playing at my best and being my best, regardless of how the competition lines up, like that seems to be a better, more controllable gauge. Because at the end of the day, you can only do that, right?
Totally.
You can only do as much as you can do with other things out of your control.
It's a great point. Yeah, and I think about like Michael Gervais on Finding Mastery has asked a lot of elite performers the question of, in this time frame in your life when you were focused on your craft, were you trying to be your best or the best? And a lot of people will say both, and I think that's the intrinsic, extrinsic motivator. And I tap into both of those. When I ask myself what matters most, it's how many people I can help and get them to a place of peace of mind and teaching them how to do it for themselves. But then also when I think about how my business is doing comparative to the rest of the world, that extrinsic motivator, it'll get me up in the morning. Like it'll get me out to get on the computer and do what I need to do, the things that I don't have that great passion for. So balancing those, I think it plays a role in just moving forward, you know.
Right.
But going back to like success, the definition that we use, and I got from John Wooden, is, you know, peace of mind, knowing you did your best to become your best, the only thing you can control. And if you can really buy into that, you can pursue whatever you want to pursue. And at the end of the day, be at peace with yourself, right? And most likely when you do your best, good things happen too.
Right.
But when I ask kids what is success, it usually is winning the championship,
Right.
getting the trophy, you know, this high level of achievement.
Yeah.
And then if you don't match up to that, it invites a lot of different problems.
I know. And then how many people do we need to hear from that have done that all and won the championship and like it didn't make them happy? It's the same thing you see in the business world or entrepreneurial world of like, you know, I built the business. It was super successful. I sold it for a lot of money, and like that didn't happen. What's Jim Carrey's quote? I wish everybody could get rich and famous to show them that that's not what's going to make them happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, we call that the happiness myth. I'll be happy when.
Right. Conditional happiness.
Yep. And I see a lot of kids experiencing that. So just conversations around that are a big one.
Yeah.
And often when I talk to parents, it's pretty frequent. I get a phone call. Hey, heard you work with so-and-so. We want you to work with our son. We think he can go to an Ivy League school. We want him to be the best player in the country. And I listen, and then I'll just say, okay, what matters most to you? And they often go back to that he's happy, that he's confident in himself, that he can handle hard times. And I go, perfect. That's what we're going to focus on.
Fantastic.
You know, so I think deep down, we all want that.
Yeah.
We all are kind of chasing being at peace with ourselves. And the outside world sells a different path on how to get there.
Right.
You know,
it's so true. It's like if we can, and it's a constant practice and it ebbs and flows, but if we can be content with being with ourselves and being in the moment, and like what else matters? I had a reminder of that almost a year ago, as we were building the business and we were starting to face some hard times before we were eventually had to close the doors. And I was like just sitting outside and just looking at the tree blow in the wind, and I was so happy. And I was like, what else matters? Like nothing else matters if this is what I want, and this is what I want to practice, and this is what I want more of. It's like that at the end of the day. And I like how you asked that question too, because for everybody, it's such a great question of like, why do you want the things that you want? Because I feel like oftentimes we probably don't ask ourselves that question or don't know, and that changes the way that we show up for that.
Yeah, it's easy to run on a bit of a program based on other people's beliefs and things like that. Spot on. That reminds me, I saw Jesse Itzler said, you know, health is the number one, your energy is number one, because if you have all the money in the world and you're on the beach and you have a strep throat, right? Like all you're thinking about is how much my throat hurts. And I remember that example of someone who's had strep throat a bunch. I'm like, man, that's so true. You know, so that's a practice, right? The 5x5 helps me get there. Yoga Nidra helps me get there. Consistent gratitude practice helps me get there more often. And, you know, even I'm very susceptible to having an achievement. Something like a student the other day told me, he's writing his college essay, and he's like, it's all about the work we've done together. Wow. And he gave me these 3 keys, and I'm like, dude, that's everything. But in that moment, you know, I didn't feel it. I had to sit on that, you know, and really generate like, wow, this is exactly what I want to be doing. And sometimes it's that reflection of what matters most. Yeah. A good friend of mine's dad just passed away, and I was watching the memorial service, and he was an absolute legend of a human being, impacted so many lives. And to hear people speak about him, you know, it moves you. And you're like, this is what matters most, right? How many lives can I touch in a positive way? How much peace can I experience? How much joy can I express? But you got to come back to that. Yeah. Because, I mean, again, I'm susceptible to getting distracted as we all are. And I think helping younger people have some of those conversations earlier on while they're also pursuing the things that matter most to them, right? Because for a 15-year-old kid, getting a scholarship to go play Division I lacrosse is a big deal to them. Yeah. It matters a lot. And I think you can have both. You can pursue greatness in however you want to go after it while also having peace of mind. And that's a beautiful thing.
Amen. 2 wings of an airplane. Like, you need them both, I think, in order to, because I've explored a lot around this as well, because I feel like in the pursuit of audacious goals and things that we're striving for. That's where the becoming is. That's where the growth is. That's where the unfolding is. Like, that's the story that we're telling. And I find so much fulfillment in that as well. Yeah. So it's a combination. I think both is the right answer.
Yes. No doubt about it.
So, okay, I want to drill into some of the mindsets here with what are, I mean, you've worked with a lot of students. You've learned a lot from other teachers and coaches. What are some of the core tenets that you see across high performers who are like high performers in this, let's call it this embodied way, or like, you know, the combination of people that are high performing and also present?
That it's really difficult. That it's really difficult. But it's a worthy challenge, and that it takes a lot of practice and reflection, you know, so to be able to pursue something at an elite level and also have peace at an elite level, it takes a lot of practice, because I think the first one pulls you out of that a lot. Yeah. You have to look at your performance, you have to study it, and there comes up comparison, there comes up judgment of self, and you need a high level of self-awareness to acknowledge that and be like, oh, there I am getting a little bit judgmental of self. Like, oh, I remember that's not going to help me as much. And so I would say it's really difficult. Two, I would say that there is a curiosity. There's a willingness, you know, to practice these techniques. I have students that, you know, have a lot of different recordings on their phone of themselves, either talking about memories of them at their best or affirmations, and they listen to those every day. And so you got to be willing to do something that's a little bit different. And I would say the best students that I've ever worked with, guys who've played at the highest level, coaches who've won at the highest level, there is that inherent, whether they identify as a curious person or not, and whether they know that's a tenet of mindfulness or not, it's there. And it just makes sense to them to learn from everything, right? And I remember, you know, Kobe Bryant had talked about when you really have that mindset of truly being your best, everything becomes your library. And it goes back to the belief, everything and everyone's my teacher. Right. So, and that's foundationally a growth mindset. Right? And I always call that the ultimate hack to developing a growth mindset. If that can become a mantra, if you can wire it into a belief, you have developed a growth mindset, because every single thing that will happen, you'll then ask yourself, what can I learn from this? So it's difficult. It's definitely worth it. Curiosity is there, high level of self-awareness, both to the physiological side. Like, I notice that I have tightness in my chest. I feel this. Okay. I then need the tools of breathing to relax here. Awareness of thought patterns, you know, and recognizing like the driving over here and being like, oh, I'm experiencing tension because reality's not matching up with my expectations. Those expectations were small. I didn't write them down. I didn't say this is exactly how tomorrow's going to go. They were just there. Right? The mind trying to predict the future a little bit. So I would say the self-awareness, curiosity, and consistency. No doubt about it. Right? Consistency in their discipline, and then also of the mind. And training that.
Makes so much sense. There's two things that I'm always focused on. One is awareness, and two is response. So first, in terms of awareness, of being aware of whatever I'm experiencing and being able to call it out, of just like, oh yeah, like I feel pretty pissed about that thing, or I feel this sensation and this tightness right here, this sense of blah or something, right? So, okay, awareness without judgment, and then response, because our ability to respond is our responsibility, right? And so I focus really on building this toolkit of what are different tools that I can use to respond based on whatever I'm observing from this awareness, from a non-judgment space. And some of those tools I love are breath work, cold water immersion, gratitude, play, joy, anything that brings me into a non-resistant state, like just having fun, laughter. Can't tell you how many times I go on YouTube and watch The Office bloopers. I love The Office.
That's great.
I watch The Office bloopers. It's just like, it without a doubt will always make me laugh no matter what. And just like that little shift can be huge sometimes. So what are some tools that you've found very effective for yourself? Number one. And number two, what are tools that you focus on teaching students and athletes in real time?
The two that come to mind first is the Yoga Nidra and the 5x5. So when I did Yoga Nidra last spring, I was going to an hour-long session. And the first thing that I noticed was probably first 3 to 5 minutes, my inner dialogue was like, get up, like get out of here, dude. Like there's so many things to do. Oh, you have this great idea. Like anything to sit still.
Yeah.
And then you overcome that. And the practice of yoga nidra is just very detailed body scans. So you go from every detail of the face, the muscles behind the eyes, the lips, the ears, all the way through the body. And so you're shifting focus. And I think that's also a really important part of performance is being able to recognize, oh, my focus is drifting to the future. Oh, my focus is on this. My focus needs to be here. And recognizing when it's in a different place and guiding it back, which is essentially meditation, right? And strengthening that. So that practice helps a ton because you're resetting the nervous system. You're getting nice and calm. If you do it consistently, you're becoming a more regulated person. Great. You're also practicing shifting your focus. You're practicing awareness of the body and the mind. So it's like, to me, I prefer it over traditional meditation because it involves the body and the physical sensations. And then the 5x5 is essentially that, just in a micro form.
Right.
And you're shifting focus. You're practicing physical like proprioception and noticing sensations in the body. So you get really good at it. So when I sit there and I go, I feel my right foot leaning against the chair. I can feel the warmth of my back against the chair. I can feel the cool air on my face. Well, next time I'm moving into something important and I feel my heart racing, I go, oh, there's the adrenaline right now. You know, and you can integrate whatever's happening in a much smoother way. So I would say those two are big. Journaling is phenomenal. You know, I call it a power 9, 3 things you're grateful for, 3 wins on the day, and then 3 goals for tomorrow. And that's, you know, excellent. Like just getting into a habit of those things. And then recently, Gabby and I have just been trying to answer a few questions every night that we got from a positive psychology curriculum on the PERMA model, which is...
What's that?
It was developed by Martin Seligman, known as the father of positive psychology. 5 components: positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. And essentially, it's 5 components to well-being, happiness, a life well lived. It's not the end all be all. They've added on nutrition, sleep, exercise, and stuff. But those are really 5 important things from a psychological standpoint. So there's questions on like, what positive emotions did you experience today? What positive emotions can you lean into more in your professional life? Like just great reflection-based questions. And again, they give you a nudge, right? A nudge back to where you want to be. And for me, where I want to be is in a great place of peace of mind and bliss and gratitude as much as possible. And yeah, you can go down that trap pretty quickly and get away from that. You know, your metrics become money, it becomes status or whatever. It can happen so quickly. And so the consistency piece around those practices has been a life changer for me. And I see it help a lot of my students.
Well, and it's cool too, because, you know, at this point, after a decade of really practicing these things, I'm sure you can see the muscle getting stronger and stronger, right?
Yes.
I think about that for me, like the challenges that I just had to move through from closing down the business and winding down operations and dealing with all of that process and losing everything was really freaking tough.
Totally.
And had it not been for the decade plus of reps that I had been taking to build these beliefs and to strengthen these muscles and build this resilience, like I absolutely feel like I would have completely crumbled.
No doubt. Makes sense.
Or turned into very unhealthy patterns for coping mechanisms.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know for myself, my greatest challenge in my adult life has been getting diagnosed with this heart disease, ARVC, in 2021. And same week, I had melanoma in my neck taken out. And it was like tough week, right? It was like, hey, you got this heart condition, no more exercise. You might need to get a defibrillator put in.
Whoa.
And, you know, like just scary.
Whoa.
And then like 2 days later, they're like, yeah, you got skin cancer. We got to take it out, right? And
was it the same doctor? Or
no, different doctors. And if I didn't have at that point, you know, around 10 years of practicing some of these tools, it would have been incredibly more difficult. But I also made a lot of mistakes there. I didn't fully understand emotions to the degree that I do now. And I think I thought my way through a lot of it instead of felt my way through it. Ooh. There really was no grieving process. It was, I went right to gratitude. And I went right to, okay, everything and everyone's my teacher. What is this teaching me?
Right.
And it taught me, it said, okay, this is going to teach me how to be a better communicator. I do believe we best serve the people that we once were. Okay, I'll be able to serve people who are dealt a difficult hand outside of their control better. Well, that goes back to my purpose and what I want to do the most. Okay, this will be a good thing. And gratitude for the exercise that I was able to do that entire time up to that point, and gratitude for living. But there was a subconscious response that I compartmentalized too much. And it took me probably almost 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
And then the other challenge was getting on medication that they didn't tell me was going to have psychological effects. So I was in a state of, I was, pretty depressed, but every day I'm practicing these tools and I'm teaching these things and I'm helping people. So there was so much good, but there was also this kind of shadow side that I wasn't fully, aware of or integrating. But without those tools that I'd practiced, it could have been much, much worse, significantly, So I'm so grateful. And I guess we're kind of always preparing for things in the future that we don't know what it's going to be. So you got to kind of sharpen your sword and be ready for that.
That's right. Just to double tap on that for a second, I think you hit on something, a real gem there, which I've found as well, both for myself and generally, especially in the space of positive psychology and personal development, which is, I think we oftentimes are overthinking and underfeeling.
Yes.
And we I have in the past tended to, and I've seen with a lot of clients and a lot of people, we generally tend to think our way or want to think our way out of things versus allowing ourselves to feel our way through things. Yes. And feels like there's a big difference there between thinking our way out of things versus feeling our way through things. Yeah. And it kind of brings up the conversation of emotions and emotional intelligence and emotional quotient to be able to be comfortable with feeling your emotions fully, to be able to release them and let them go. So it sounds like that was a big lesson that taught, because instantly I can see how it's like, okay, cool, I got these two things happen. I'm going to glass half full. I'm going to think it's okay. This is here to teach me something. But then your subconscious and your body and your emotional body, you're kind of like, you're telling your body, no, it's okay. We got this up here. But your body's like, oh, I need to feel my way through this.
No doubt. And honestly, I didn't even know I was doing it, and I just wasn't there in a state of awareness to pick up on it. And it wasn't, I went and saw a therapist / business coach, right? So I liked her style because it was like, oh, she's going to help me become a better entrepreneur. And also we can talk about some things. And there was just a resistance that was like so subconscious that I wouldn't really go there. And it wasn't like I went in there, I was like, all right, let me just get through this hour and avoid talking about difficult things. I just had such a block. And I did 10 sessions and she was wonderful, but there were no real breakthroughs. And then I went back to a woman who is a Reiki master. And, I did a session with her. It was incredible. And at the end, she goes, how do you feel? And I just broke down.
Wow.
And I felt like I cried years of pent up emotion.
Yep.
And then I was like, wow, that's fascinating. This different modality helped me break through. And that was a big starting point for feeling more. And it was never a like maybe subconsciously as a young kid, you're told like, hey, don't feel that way, and then you have a belief that it's not okay to feel that. Wherever it came from, my parents were wonderful, so I don't think that was it. But it was a learning experience. And I remember doing some meditations and just sitting there and be like, okay, what are you feeling? And it was like, okay, this feels like fear. What are you afraid of? And just having really slow conversations with myself. And those were very healing. Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, like just had no idea I was doing it.
Dude, we have such mirrored and paralleled stories too. When I first broke into that was doing breath work and I had all of these different injuries and surgeries and I'd never really taken the time to feel or to be with my body at all. And then breath work popped me open. And I love how you said, I felt like I cried years worth of tears. And that's the most accurate way to describe it. Like deep from within, like coming out, right? Like
totally
cleaning out something, old pipes, just like working through like, whoa. And how did you feel after that?
Free.
Right?
Yeah. So much lighter.
So much lighter.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, I felt the same thing. I felt my shoulders were relaxed, my jaw was on clenched, my belly was relaxed. Like it felt like a different, and that opened the door for me for going deeper into exploring how emotions work with the body. As one of my mentors always says, emotions, energy, in motion, emotions. And it's these energies that come into motion and they move through us if we allow them.
Yes.
And in order to allow them, we have to be comfortable and okay with sitting with and feeling our way through the not so good feelings. We love feeling bliss. We love feeling good stuff.
Yep.
We love feeling the oxytocin hit.
Yep.
But how do we feel sadness? How do we
Yes.
feel anger? How do we feel grief?
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned is those feelings just want to be felt. And when
Totally.
we feel them, then they release. Just
Yes.
like everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a huge part and something that I've been really passionate, especially recently, about working with and sharing. And that's the point when I go to Iceland, I do these retreats, or I'm guiding people through cold immersion, or taking them up a mountain in nothing but their shorts and doing these crazy mind body things. It's not necessarily about that. Like, yes, that's beautiful to show what you're capable of, but it's more so of, hey, what does fear feel like in my body for real? Hey, what is this resistance that I feel towards this? What's this conversation that I'm avoiding or putting off back home? And how is that showing up here?
Yes.
And it's being super vigilant and hyper aware of all the sensations in our body, because the sensations in our body are kind of the gateways in.
Totally.
And how can I be more comfortable with feeling and allowing this? So, I mean, I love this, and I appreciate this conversation because it's such a good reminder. It's such a good reminder for me as well, just coming back already to just be like, yeah, okay, cool. We got all these things moving around in us. Like, let's be present for the unfolding of it.
Yeah. You know, you said fear. Fear is such a driver. And I was working with my college teams last night virtually, and I shared with them one of my favorite clips for like mental performance, and it's Karate Kid 2.
Yeah.
Danielson's in the championship. He's getting beat down, and he's on the ground, and Mr. Miyagi comes over, and Danielson's like, I'm afraid. I'm done. Let's get out of here. And he's like, no. He's like, it's okay to lose to the opponent. You must not lose to fear. Oof. And it was just like, that's so true. You know, and players need to accept, people need to accept loss and not achieving everything that you want. Pursuing it, great. But as long as you're not losing to fear, I think you're on the right side of things. I know for myself, right? Like, I had to make a business decision, multiple recently, and the energy of fear was present. And it was like, okay, I didn't use those words, I'm not going to lose to fear, but it was like, I am going to take this shot. Like, we're going to go for it, you know? And the anchoring of, I will be more at peace with myself knowing I did my absolute best here comes up.
That hypes me up so much. Do not lose to fear.
Yeah.
I don't care if you lose to your opponent.
Yeah.
Do not lose to fear.
Exactly.
And I think in a practical sense, for most people, fear is the opponent.
100%.
Like, there's that's it. It's the fear of judgment. It's the fear of failure. These quote unquote fears that are imaginary. The fear, FEAR, false experiences appearing real, or false expectations appearing real. It's like, they're fake. They're false.
Yeah.
They're projections in our mind, and we lose to them. Like, what is on the other side of 30 days of doing that thing that scares you? Of looking like a fool, perhaps, by starting to share more on Instagram or on social media, or launching that side hustle or whatever that thing is. Like, do not lose to fear.
No.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's money.
Oh, that's money.
And the clip is electric. I'll show you right when we finish up. We're going to watch it. I mean, it fires me up.
Yeah, that's so good.
It's great.
I got to share that one.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay, now what role does resilience play for you and in your teachings?
So
how do you define resilience?
Yeah, we define it as your ability to recover from setbacks. Simple definition, you know, easy to understand, easy to fall back on. And oh gosh, that's such a great one. You know, I'm thinking about what it looks like for my players. And I think it goes back to the concept of optimal performance, right? I do my best with whatever I have, wherever I am, one play at a time, right? And when you buy into that, it doesn't have to look perfect. And you know that some days you don't have your best, but you fall back on that choice of, I will do my absolute best with whatever I have, whether it's 70%, 80%, in whatever conditions, wherever I am, one moment at a time. So I think when you do that consistently, you demonstrate resiliency without even talking about it, right? But it also helps to have routines. So I'm thinking right now for performers, you know, you have a routine that you do post mistake, post setback. But when you get really good, you have the routine that you do post success. You just do it every time. So whether your team scores or the other team scores, whether you score or a teammate or you made a mistake, you do the same thing when you get to the sideline.
What?
Could be a breath, could be a form of self-talk. We do the big 3 ABC. So big 3 is I am, I love, I will. And it's just a framework for self-talk. The ABCs you define for yourself are like the 3 key things that you want to fall back on during a game. So if you come to the sideline and you say your routine is 3 high fives, 2 double inhales, 2 physiological sighs, and my ABCs, and you do it. And then you remind yourself, hey, one play at a time. Let's go. So I think resilience can be enhanced by routines.
Right.
And, you know, you asked me earlier too, like, what are the kind of the best practices? The other one is conversation. Exploratory conversations. And that's why I love what I do so much. I had one with a student the other night, and he was like, guys, he's like, I have these thoughts, but like putting them into conversation, I understand myself so much better. True. So having conversations with great people is so important. And the more consistently you do that, the more reflection you engage in, the more strategies you're willing to apply, you can get to a place where consistently giving your best before a setback, after a setback, is just your normal operating system. So I think that's the level of resiliency that I'm trying to look for. And then another one, the story I've shared with a lot of students recently. I got connected with a young man from Arizona. He's an 8th grader, and he was going through a tough time. He's undersized, hasn't hit puberty. All of his buddies are bigger. They're going through puberty, and he's just getting his butt kicked. And it's just a really tough time for him. And he tells me about it, and I go, well, what matters most to you? And he's like, I got to get to my dream school. And he's like, and he had that defined, and he's like, that's my dream. That's what matters most to me. And I said, well, have you ever heard that concept that if you ask for strength, God gives you challenges? And he's like, yeah, it kind of sounds familiar. I'm like, all right, well, what if God was listening when you've been dreaming of playing at this school in 5 years? And he goes, all right, I got you, Caden. For that to happen, I got to toughen you up. I got to put you in an environment that's so unfair, so unrealistic, that you develop this deep sense of resiliency and commitment and confidence in yourself, and peace of mind, not attached to the outcome, so that you are the person that deserves to get that. And he was like, oh man, I've been looking at this all wrong. Like, you're right, this is happening for me. Holy crap. So I think those type of perspective shifts serve a great purpose in resiliency as well.
Absolutely. Love that. What a great story. What amazing work too, to be able to give a kid at that age that to help them see that perspective and that level of breakthrough. Like, that's life changing.
No doubt. And one of the things we talk about, my business partners and I, is that timing is so important in what we do, and easy to understand after you hear that soundbite, but not as always easy to communicate to a potential client or a family, that we're there at the right time when that conversation is needed to give expert advice on how to navigate this challenge. And from a value standpoint, that drives it through the roof. And from an impact standpoint, it's immeasurable. It really is. And that's probably also my favorite part of doing what I do.
Gotta be, man.
Is when a curious student comes to me and is like, hey, this is what happened. What do you think? This is whatever it is. When they have it, it's like, let's go. The energy behind that is so much better than, like, I love teaching our curriculum. It's powerful. Right. And we always put them in the driver's seat of it. But when they have the focal point for us to dive into, that something good's about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so good, man. I love it. Dude, this conversation has got me so lit up.
It's great. I'm so pumped, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. It's beautiful. It's so beautiful to hear. I like that concept of these. What did you call it? Like going to the sideline, your ritual, or what did you?
Routines.
Your routines, yeah. And I'm wondering, how can we apply that to? It's very easy to apply to, you're on the field of play, and then you come to the sideline after either making a mistake or scoring a goal or whatever it is. How do we apply that to the everyday person who's working a job or running a business? And I think we've kind of been hitting on this thread, which is having bookends to your day, or having the check-in, doing your power 9, like you said, or your 5x5. But I like that idea a lot of something, that routine, that ritual, that it's like cleansing, that like whatever happens, it processes through this and then alchemizes it and shifts your state on the other side. Whether good, whether bad, it brings you back to center, back to groundedness. So
I think of each person's different in this instance, and how I don't consider myself a very disciplined person, and that's partially why I need to shorten these exercises. Because then I have 9 out of 10 confidence that I will do it, and then that's progress, and I can build on that. Some people are incredibly disciplined, and their ability to do what they say they're going to do is like locked in. Like I have some of those students, and they really impress me. So I think you have to know yourself and what's realistic, and then one of the things that's always helped me is I put up note cards, and for years I had one in my car, and it was, how can I help the people in this room? And I would just look at that before I got out, and whatever room I'm stepping into, that mindset of like, all right, well, how can I can bring good energy? I can smile. I can ask questions. I can listen. So that was an anchor. A lot of it has to do with reminding ourselves of what matters most, the strategies that have worked for us before, and how we want to bring them to the forefront. Another one that really changed my life, I think it was reading You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh. And I was in college, and he talked about doors and how you can give meaning, right, to any environment. And specifically, a door can be a portal into the present moment.
Yeah.
So we walk around on this, programming all day, and we're living in the past or the future. But if every time you see a door or a certain door and you step into it and you go, oh, there's my door, there's my portal, let me step into it. And I chose the door of the training room in college because I went there like 3 times a day to take care of my knee and shoulder. And it was like, okay, no matter what's going on before this, when I step through that portal, that door, I can be fully present. I can smile, I can engage. And I made that a habit. So I think giving your environment specific meaning, writing down the things that you want to remember.
Yep.
And then one of the really most powerful exercises I've been engaging with recently is recording 10 memories. So whether those are memories of you overcoming a challenge, whether they're memories of you being in a state of bliss and joy, if it's a performer I'm working with, them in an optimal state of performance, recording yourself talking through those 10 memories and then listening to it every day. And memories are incredibly powerful, and I'm learning more and more about that. Like I could ask you about something and you could relive it right now, and you feel it in
your body. Doesn't know a difference in time and space. It just feels it.
So I prefer to be in that state.
Cool.
And that's another powerful one.
Yeah. Oof, that's good.
Yeah.
I like the physical anchors too around. Abraham Hicks talks about segment intending. Like anytime you're sitting down for this podcast is a new segment. The segment after this is a new segment, and we can set an intention for whatever that segment is. When you get in your car and you drive, that's a segment. When you get out of your car, you're going to go to the next. It's like a different scene in the movie and the narrative that we're all telling and we're playing.
Yes.
And each time we have the opportunity to create and step into that new energy within that. So
good.
Exactly
Segment intention.
Segment intending. Yeah,
I love
exactly.
it.
So segment intending. And then the other thing that reminded me of too, in Judaism, we have mezuzahs on the door. I don't know if you've ever seen on the doorposts of like Jewish homes, they have a mezuzah, which is like a little scroll. And you're supposed to have it on the door. Every door in your home, you have it. And every time you walk into the door, you kiss it. And inside is a scroll from the Torah that is, it's the Shema and the Ve'afta, which are the most, the most important prayer in Judaism. And it's like the prayer translates something loosely to, I shall take God's name with me when I get up and when I lay down, when I walk, I shall talk about God. It's basically like you're bringing God in with you into that room. And every room, it's that like reminder, which I like. And what you're saying gives me a new intention or relationship with that, which I'm excited now to be like, this is a portal that I'm entering into this room, whatever room it is. And this can give me a new opportunity to show up at however I want to show up into this thing. So I really like that doorway of being a real portal to shifting your state and the state of others.
I love it. Yeah, we talk about a concept that reminds me of segment intending called choosing horizons. Essentially what your focal point, your target is. So I'm sure you've completed Ironmans, right? Like you can't do that all at once. It's like, I just got to get through this leg of the race. And when you do, you get the dopamine hit.
Right.
So I'm sure with the segment intending, very similar, right? It's like, all right, my intention for this rest of the podcast, boom, boom, boom. And then you get there and you're like, nice, I did that. I feel good. And you get the hit and then you do the next one. I'm going to use that for sure. That's a beautiful one.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, brother, we have been dropping down the rabbit hole, and I know
it feels like just a few minutes. How long have we been going?
I know. Just over an hour now.
I love it.
I know.
So good.
Just I know. We got many more to do this. Couple questions for you in wrapping that I like to ask to my guests and the others is what's a challenge that you're working through right now?
I would say, around my physical body and my health, right? And maybe there's a level of self-acceptance, but still trying to find the ways that bring me joy, because I used to love working out.
Yeah.
I miss it.
And you really can't do that anymore because
it's pretty
of the heart.
light. It's like mobility and like light yoga. So, but I'm still, I know I'm going to have a breakthrough soon around getting excited about that.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest one, is just getting my physical health in order, you know, to just a level that, again, I'm probably trying to like perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I realize this for myself, the choosing horizons concept, right? If it's too far in the future, it raises your uncertainty level. So for me, I realize I go, oh dude, I've been putting my horizon to when I get a six pack again.
Right.
That's like 6 months to a year away.
Yeah.
There are so many celebrations, holidays, reasons to screw up with eating and not be dialed in. Because for me to get there, I'm going to have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's going to be really hard without exercise 90 minutes a day. So, but it brought up level of uncertainty. So then the trust goes down. But when I go, I can make it through 24 hours. That's my horizon, right? My segment is like, let me just have a great day. Let me, like, so that's been helping a lot
That's
recently. And then, you know, since I saw you really last couple summers ago, my relationship with my heart, fear of dying is improved dramatically.
Good.
Those episodes of like feeling like I'm about to drop and it's over, which felt like just impending doom and like this just really, my senses just were so alive, not in the best way, but like really intense. Those have gone away dramatically. It's very rare when that happens. And when it does, much more accepting. I know what to expect and I can navigate it much more smoothly.
Good.
So yeah, I think it's relationship with self.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just to summarize it, right?
Always,
like I'm not worried about the business
Yeah.
stuff. Like it'll work or it won't. Like it's going to be relationship with self always.
I like it. And what's something that's lighting you up right now in life?
This conversation, my wife, Gabby, you know, just like conversations, you know, it's just like so beautiful. Especially the ones I get to have with students are just absolutely incredible and really inspiring. And, you know, also with this is, I was talking to a student about the concept of infinite versus finite games. And, you know, the infinite game that I like to play that drives a lot of curiosity and excitement is how far can I go? How far can I take this? And could I be on stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people speaking? And like, if I get there, cool. If I don't, not that big of a deal. But like, well, how far can I really take this? Like I've been in some rooms that I never thought I'd be in and pretty much finished with the book and that will come out soon. And I'm excited about that. And I really want to start speaking in schools, you know, like this is the audience that I want to reach. So that's kind of what lights me up too. My wife and time with her. And then just that idea of like, well, how far can I take it? It opens up this curiosity and this infinite game to play. Yeah. And it makes me like, I can feel a shift like in my heart, you know, it just opens it up and it's like, let's not play small.
Right.
Yeah.
What's possible if anything's possible? Like, why not?
Why not, dude? Let's go.
I can tell you with full certainty in my bones that you will be on stage with thousands of people. I know that.
That'll be fun.
Fact. I know that for a fact. That's going to be beautiful. It reminds me of the song from Moana, one of my favorite Disney movies ever. If I go, there's just no telling how far I'll go.
I love it.
How far I'll go. Go listen to that song.
Yeah.
Listen to that song now. I don't know if have you seen Moana or no?
No.
Oh,
I know
dude.
it's one of Gabby's favorites. I'm going to have to check it out.
What are we doing?
We've been on a roll with some other stuff. No, that's definitely going to get on the list. And
I think, I mean, come on. Yeah, she's like, yeah.
I think to summarize it, really, it's like Moana, Karate Kid 2.
That's it. Like, that's the homework.
This is not 90s kids, right? Like,
yeah,
this
exactly.
Is like how we learn.
Please watch Moana. Freaking do it tonight.
No doubt.
Or do it after, the game tomorrow, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, watch it and and listen to that song, How Far I'll Go. It's the main song in it. It's in the beginning.
Can't wait.
And we'll see if it doesn't move you to tears like it moves me to tears.
I love it, dude. I'm into it.
Well, brother, this is an absolute blessing. So good to drop in.
Yeah, it's great.
The first of many. We're definitely going to do this again. And yeah, man, just grateful for the message that you're sharing, the presence that you show up with. And until next time.
I appreciate it. Until next time, you're an incredible person, and I have a lot of respect for you in a multitude of ways. So spending time with you on or off camera is wonderful. Thank you, brother.
Much love, brother.
See you, buddy.